We are activating your unique self-discovery one show at a time. The Orchard of Wisdom Self-Discovery podcast are at your fingertips, just waiting to inspire and invite you in discovering just how awesome you really are and how to navigate through life in joy, enrichment, personal abundance, in mind, body, spirit, heart, and soul. All the people we bring you are here to serve you on your journey of life. Do enjoy our next show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Their Story Matters right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your show host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest is, let's see if I can pronounce this, Kanchan Bhaskar. Did I say it right?
Correct.
Wonderful. We're going to be talking today about the abusiveness in marriage, domestic abuse. It's so sad that we have to really keep speaking about this today. But according to the National Correlation Against Domestic Abuse, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States alone. And within the South Asian community, the number may be even higher because it is unreported. So she has this wonderful book coming out, Leaving, How I Set Myself Free from an Abusive Marriage. And having been in one myself, these kind of books really do help us kind of leave, find the support, find the how, find the encouragement to leave an abusive marriage or a relationship, whatever it is. She was raised in New Delhi and she entered into an arranged marriage, which we see quite a lot in her culture, with the exception of a happy and with the expectation of a happy and fulfilling partnership. However, she soon discovered that her husband was a narcissist. I know them, an abusive man, and she was trapped in a nightmare. Despite the challenges she faces, she was determined to protect her children and herself. So she turns to her faith and determination to guide her as a fight for her freedom. It takes immense courage to leave an abusive relationship, she says. And she's written this memoir, an easy-to-read roadmap from leaving to recovery and thriving. Her compelling story equips readers with the means and the grit required to rekindle a healthy relationship with self and then again with others. So her book is called Leaving. We're going to be talking about that book. We're going to be talking about those abusive relationships. Yes, I was in one too. And it's like, why do we do it? Now, in your culture, arranged marriages are quite common. And you really don't always get to have that choice, do you, on whom you marry?
Yeah, we don't. We don't. Before I even start talking, Sarah, I just want to thank you for having me on
Oh, my
your
pleasure.
show. And yes, as far as arranged marriages are concerned, when I was to get married in those years in early 1980s or so, the urban India was only 5%, and 95% was agricultural or rural India.
Hmm.
Uh, and that is a pretty much conservative area,
Mm.
and
Traditional.
very traditional. And even in the urban India at that time, there was very few love marriages that we will see. We will hear about them, and then we will, people will gossip about it as to something very rare has happened. So arranged marriages were very, very popular because people lived in joint families, and
Hmm.
in the joint families, the uncles and the aunts and the others will keep an eye on a person, a would-be groom or a bride, and then they will start to talk about it as the girl was growing up to a marriageable age. And the purpose was that they thought that they know the boy or they know the man. So, it's like a referral being given for a higher position. And we always feel, okay, if it's a referral, then it has to be a good choice.
Mm.
So that was the purpose. And yes, I got into arranged marriage also. Although my family was pretty broad minded, I was born and brought up in a very, very modern family, educated parents. And, but somehow, I don't know, I didn't have like a particular person in my head at the time to
Mm.
tell them. If I would have told them, perhaps they would have agreed or at least, thought about it. But I don't think I had anybody in particular in that mind that I would have told them. So it was an arranged marriage.
And that tradition is so strong. It's very hard to bucket, isn't it? And, whether you agree with it or not, you kind of think, well, your parents know best or the culture knows best. But,
Yes.
it takes time to get to know someone. And, one of the big things is, who are we? Who are
Yeah.
we? Because we want to have, a love arrangement with ourselves first. And I'm not talking the narcissistic love. I'm talking
Yeah.
about the respect, the value, the love of who we are and why we are and what we're here to do, because then
Yeah.
that will attract the right person. But if you don't have any of that expectation, or if you're not living in that vibe, you're going to get something
Yeah.
different.
Right. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And I tell you, this is so true. And I'm not making it up, is that who am I came to my mind when I came to US. That
Mm,
question nobody asks in India. Who
yeah,
am I? Like, if somebody is saying, "Who am I?" people will perhaps laugh at him and say, "Who are you? You are, Kanchan, or
right.
you are, you know." And so when I came here, it was like everybody, not everybody, but then I heard it so much. Who am I? Who are you? And I was
Hmm.
like, really? And then I started to to think about it.
Yeah,
Who am I? Yeah. So that was like
a
a
totally new
discovery for
concept
me.
for you, a totally new journey. Yes. But it's
Right.
kind of when we ask those questions, then we realize I'm not being truthful to myself. I'm not being honest with myself. I'm not valuing myself. I am just carte blanche accepting the abuse I'm getting and perhaps even believing that we deserve it.
Yes. Yes. Uh, it's not so much as we deserve it, but it is more like it's my normal life.
Yeah,
And perpetrator, they are so manipulative that they make you believe that it was all your fault.
of course. That's a true narcissist for you. They never take responsibility.
Right. And it's them who make you believe that you are the one who instigated him to do this to you.
Yes, exactly. All your fault.
All your fault. And that is where the abused is started to believe that, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
isn't that what happened?
Yeah,
That he
yes.
asked me to, he threw his shirt on my face and said, "You haven't put the button on it, and it's your job to do it."
Mm,
And but if I would have put the button on my own before that,
yeah,
maybe the fight had not started. So like, then you start to blame yourself. And that's how it happened with me, because slowly and steadily you lose yourself, you become numb, you're shocked, you are into sadness and depression, you're alone,
mhm,
and you start to behave like a victim,
yeah,
typical victim. You don't realize that you are being victimized.
yes.
You think it's a normal life for me. Then what if it was just a slap?
Mhm,
Then what if he pulled me or pushed me or twisted my arm? But then that keeps increasing. That
mm,
intensity of that twisting, that arm becomes so much more. The hitting, the intensity, and everything becomes so much more. The number of hours of being hit becomes more. And the madness of the perpetrator becomes more, because now you are under his full power and
yeah.
control.
And you're
And
living in that fear all the time,
all the time,
treading on eggshells all the time. Yeah.
all the time, Sarah, because uh, especially with an alcoholic man,
Mm-hmm.
when they come home drunk, you're every day scared as to how, in what mood he will enter the house today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of as they come in through the driveway, you know who they are.
yeah, yeah. True.
Kids Scarpa, everybody Scarpa, you know. Um, and the thing is, they don't take any ownership whatsoever. None. You could
Never.
film them, you could record what they're saying. That wasn't me. You've made it up. It's not me. They don't know
Yes,
how to take it. And we've got to understand a narcissist is created very, very young. It's that insecurity in themselves. It's that little child that is just wanting to be loved. And
yes,
they're constantly seeking love, but it has conditions to it. And
yes.
those conditions, they wouldn't know honest love. because they don't know how to love themselves. And
Yeah,
everybody's got to do for them. They are
yeah,
the most important, and they don't need to take any responsibility. It's everybody else's fault. And of course, a huge poster child for this is
yes,
Donald Trump. And he is the ultimate poster child of narcissism. And then people have then began to kind of look at, gosh, there's a lot more of them around us than I thought.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And, sometimes some narcissists, of course, give you silent treatment.
Yeah.
They will just become quiet and not talk to you for like 5 days and or maybe more. And then you again start to think, what did I do? What was
Hmm.
my fault? And you start to blame yourself. It's like, perhaps I did that.
Yes.
I wish I wouldn't have done that. So, yeah, in my case, he was pretty straight away violent.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there would be a period of uh, good days, I would say,
Hmm. Hmm.
and then at that time he would be like, oh, he would say it also, I'm the best husband. But yeah, there was periods when, everything seemed okay. And then it started on its own. It just
Yeah.
started, start to instigate. He will start to plan. He will start to drink more. And I would know it's coming, but there was no stopping it.
Right.
What,
And the
what
thing
could I
is
stop?
it's their issue. But because we are that blank canvas for them, they
Right.
can paint anything on it, and we feel that we're powerless. I remember when I took back my power, there's two things I said to him. One was, take it up with your mirror. That's the only one that's interested, right? And then when I actually asked for a divorce, I had somebody who had helped me through some counseling, and he goes, that bloody woman took the control I had over you away from me. And
Ah.
that was the entire summary of our marriage, control, right? And
Oh,
when he was no longer in control, right? And that was the thing. We relinquish our control over ourselves. We give it to them out of fear,
yes.
right?
Yes. I agree totally. And then the cycle of the manipulation that starts
Yeah.
after the cycle of manipulation. My ex used to just fall in my feet and he would cry like a
Yes.
baby.
Yes.
And then he would say, please, for God's sake, where will I go? I have nobody. You are the only one I
Mm-hmm.
love. I'll die without you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hang myself without you. Please,
Mm-hmm.
one time. Whatever you'll say, I'll do. And my only thing at that time used to be, will you go to a psychiatrist? Will you
Mm.
take medication? Will you go to the counseling? And he would say yes, but
Nothing ever
the,
happened, right?
the
No, because
next day,
that would be to admit fault. In their
yeah,
eyes, for them to go and seek the help means there's something
oh,
wrong with them. That's not
yeah,
wrong with them, it's you. You're the
yeah,
one that made them like this. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And the and he would say that you are the one who needs a psychiatrist.
Yes.
Go to the psychiatrist.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's never ending with them.
And
It's
it's
I
hard
think
when you have children. How many children did you have?
three. I
Yeah,
had
me
a
too. Mm-hmm.
My daughter was born within the first 11 months of my marriage,
Mm,
like one period, and then I was pregnant. And 3 years later, I had twin boys.
mm.
So God said, take more,
Yeah.
two more.
And of course, then what you do is you start living for your children to protect them, and you
Oh,
completely lose yourself. And then it was, in fact, my kids that came into the bedroom one time on a Saturday night and said, this is ridiculous. You're alone again. It's time for a divorce.
yeah,
And I said, I'm waiting for the youngest to graduate. And she said, forget that. We're doing
yeah,
it now. And I wouldn't have done it. I would have waited because I thought it's only me suffering because you don't think your kids are, but they
yeah,
are.
they
And they're
are.
also learning bad habits because you're not standing up for yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in some ways, they may be even losing respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
That what is going on with our mother,
Yeah.
and then the children suffer a lot, Sarah,
Yes.
because feel that what they see, they watch, they feel helpless, they want to help you and they cannot help you. They see it from the distance. They become sad and morose, and some of them fall into bad habits and drug
Yes.
addiction and stealing, and all
Mm.
of those habits, becoming sociopaths. And when they grow older, so there are cases where they then turn out to be violent.
Because that's
So
all they know. It's what they grew up
that's
with.
they know, yeah,
And if
that's all.
they don't have another mentor, somebody outside of that showing them, especially boys, who's
Yeah,
showing them that there's something different, that this is not
right.
what a man is, this is not the measure of a man, that
Yeah,
that's all they have as an example.
true. Absolutely. Luckily for me, my children have come out very well, and they are very happily
Mm.
settled, and they've done great in their life. Just
Mine
watching
too, but
me.
they had a rocky path. They had
Hmm.
a rocky path, and they made some decisions that I didn't like, but it was their journey to be had. But I know that it was also influenced by what was going on.
Yeah, yeah,
But the love from me and with them, despite what was going on with their father, was enough that no, however far afield they
yeah.
went, the love brought them back to
Yes,
themselves, to.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And that's what happens. And so this is one thing that I thought that, and that's what you are telling me too, that we sacrifice our lives to some
Hmm.
extent,
Hmm.
or to a large extent, just to make sure that our children do well.
Yeah,
People where the abused or the victim leaves the children, imagine what their situation is. Where
exactly.
it's so easy to say, why didn't you leave him? How could I leave him? Be into my shoes and see it.
Yes,
Have left him. I just couldn't because of my children.
right.
And lawyers told me that if you leave him now or try to divorce him, your children will not be all given to you. He will have the custody of at least one child. It could be two children, or it could be all the three, if he can prove that you are having an extramarital.
Right. And what country were you in at that point?
I was in New Delhi at the time.
Right.
Once
So
I
a different type of culture there where you have no power. That kind of reminds me of my mum who wanted to leave my father, and he said, I will change the locks and you will never see your children again. And she had no power at that time whatsoever. In North America, unless there is, physical abuse from the mother is the one that generally gets the kids. And whether
Yeah.
you had an extramarital or not, that really nowadays means nothing. They don't even look at it.
But Sarah, I've heard so many cases where the mothers are not able to get custody only
Mm.
because the perpetrator proves that either she's financially not fit, or she's
Which they
abused.
keep you there, right? They make sure you're financially poor because they don't want you to
They
leave
don't
or have
kill.
power. Yeah.
And then also they prove that she's alcoholic, or she
Yeah.
takes or that, and she has got some mental issues, and
Uh-huh.
that is why she talks like this and behaves like this. So they
Mm.
make you, label you with mental issues. And tell me, why won't we get mental? When you are living in that situation,
Yes.
you will be mental. You will be taking some drugs, I mean, the prescription drugs, for sleeping or
Hmm.
anxiety, something. So then they prove it that no, she's not capable of handling
Right.
it. So,
Yes.
yeah,
I know.
it's,
I remember going to a divorce workshop, and
yeah.
the first thing the lawyer said, you don't want to hire me. All I'm going to
Mm.
do is take the money and I'm going to fight and draw this out and make it as painful as possible because that's what our job is. And
Oh,
he gave us all the tips. And when I asked my husband for a divorce, um, he wouldn't go. I know, as I said, it was over different bedrooms, this, that. He still stayed in the house for 2 years, even though he had a mistress. He was over
mhm.
at her place a lot. After 2 years, I said, well, it's time. You've moved on. You know, I will stay in the house until the last one's graduated and then we will sell it. And
Yeah.
but I had to plant the seed that it was what he wanted.
Ah, right,
Uh-huh.
right.
Because a
Mhm.
narcissist, you can't decide for them. They've got
No,
to be the decider. So you plant that seed.
yeah,
That's what they want. And so they're
right.
not giving in to you, it's what they want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It is a tricky thing. So I'm glad I went the way I did because I know that if it'd gone by court, it would have been nasty. I just had the patience, and while I was kind of waiting, I was taking workshops and discovering myself, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of taking that journey while he was still there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of became friends. And for
Oh.
about, 5 years, we would still go to events as separated. I didn't push
Uh-huh.
for the divorce because I wanted
Mm.
him to have the divorce, want the divorce, right? So we
Yeah.
were just separated,
Right.
and we were okay until 5.5 years later, someone came into my life, and then that
Mm.
changed it, right? He could have someone in his life. I just couldn't have anyone in my life. So,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
but
Sure.
today we walked our daughter down the aisle together. I'll be seeing him next weekend when we're celebrating, my grandson's birthday, and my
Mm.
daughter's expecting another one. And so
Okay.
we were around together at Christmas, and they have their own he has his own relationship with his children. And I said, "This is your relationship to the kids." I said, "Your relationship with your father has got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
Whatever relationship you build, it's up to you guys." And they
Right.
have that relationship. They don't expect much because they know they're not going to get much,
Yeah.
but they have whatever relationship with them. And I worked on making sure I had a relationship with my children because it was important to me,
Yeah.
right? But they say to me, "You're not the same mom. You're not the same woman." I said, "No, I'm liberated. I've
Yeah.
been in discovery of who I am without that repression and
Abs-
without that, browbeating, without that making me feel tiny and small." And it took a long time to come out of that into
Yeah.
that self-discovery. So it is not a quick thing. It's not just a question of, "Oh, I'm leaving, I'm free, I'm liberated." No,
Oh,
this is when the journey starts, right?
you keep working on yourself. It's a long journey. And that's what exactly, once I escaped, I was a survivor, but I did not want to be just a survivor
Yeah,
because I had become a fighter by then. And I
yeah,
said, okay, fine. Now I need to thrive. Now it's my time. I was
yes.
back to being 21 years old when I got married at 22. And I had to live now my life from 20 onwards. It
Mm,
was that in my head. And yes, I kept growing. My beliefs in universe and spirituality kept growing.
yeah.
And my belief in spirituality actually is something that gave me that solace and tranquility and peace of mind and to get in touch with my soul
Hmm.
and get the whole hurt out.
Yes.
Because when I survived, after a few years after that, I thought that, I've come over it, it's fine. I'm forgetting about it now. Whatever happened is, I have no regrets. But I think somewhere down the line, it was still there.
Oh,
It was
yes.
embedded
That the
in me.
scars are always there.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
triggers, right? And we have to acknowledge, okay, that trigger is of the past. It doesn't mean it's of the present, but the
yeah.
scars will always be there. It actually, just over a year ago, we were all together celebrating my son's birthday, and my son was actually saying to him, why can you not say you love us?" And he kind of
Mm.
went down a whole journey of himself and shared some things, and then he actually said, "I owe your mother an apology. I never should have married her. I am not marriage material." And, the kids just looked at me for my reaction. And I said, yeah, that there are scars there that will always be there, but it's up to each one of us to heal and move
Yeah,
on.
right, right. And can you imagine? The other day I was telling my daughter that I thought I moved on because I've taken a lot of therapy and whatnot.
Yes.
But in each podcast, I've cried
Yeah.
while telling my story. It's not like I've cried, but it's
Hmm.
like, my eyes would water and
Yeah.
my throat will choke while telling the whole story. And I was like, really? I thought I don't even think about it anymore.
Uh-huh.
But it happens, when
Well,
you
it's
start to
it's it's a remorse for all the years that you've lost. It, it's
23.
it's it's a distrust because you gave love and all you got was abuse. And you couldn't kind of even just enjoy the motherhood because you're always in protective mode. And you're always in protective mode of yourself. And so whatever many years you were with him, you lost those years,
Yeah,
right?
true, true. And I had to send my children to boarding schools. They were
Hmm.
away from house, so I could not even do that mothering, like the physical
Yeah,
mothering with them, because they were very young when I sent them. And it was more like a quality time rather than quantity time.
right.
I would write letters to them, and they would to me, and we would meet in the vacation time only. And they I didn't let them see much of it. My daughter came back within 1 year. She said, "Mom, I'm not leaving you alone with this man." So she came back. But my boys, they were in the boarding, and they didn't know the details of any story, like the events of what were happening.
Yeah. And probably
Yeah,
in ways because they didn't witness it and they didn't mirror it, it
yeah,
probably was their saving,
yeah,
where um it's, when I mean, I didn't face the physical abuse. I faced the piranha, I call it, sucking the energy out of me,
yeah,
following me from room to room to room
yeah,
until there was nothing left of you but pulp. Right. And then the next day they wonder why you're flattened and you have no energy and you're not
yeah,
feeling well. What's wrong with you? No, I didn't. What?
yeah.
But the violence started coming out actually towards the kids just now and again. But that was something I wasn't going to tolerate.
Mm,
But it's what we have to do is, yes, we've lost X amount of years. Yes, we lost a huge chunk of ourselves. But I always
yeah,
say that, whatever happens to us, who can we become because of it?
right. Absolutely. And I say it all the time that, when I got married at that time, that Kanchan was totally different from this Kanchan.
Hmm.
Because that Kanchan was naive, simple, not worldly wise Kanchan, who was not a fighter at the time, who could not maybe, I mean, I was strong to some extent, that
Hmm.
I was I participated in women rights and women empowerment
Uh-huh.
and things as part of our, college girls, or all of us going together in a parade and marching ahead and
Yeah.
all that. But I was still a naive girl, I would say,
Mm.
because I say naive. I don't know if it's a positive word to say, but naive in the sense of, in Indian culture, like, we were not very much aware uh, of any not to say that, sex was a taboo, of course, in
Right.
India. We could not think of it, but even other things, I mean, I was not uh, made
You weren't prepared for what was coming.
and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, true. And so many times when we have talked about it between my three children and me sitting there, and they said, "Mom, you would not have been this woman that you are today."
Yeah.
I'm now very strong, I'm
Mm.
empowered, I am emotional, but I know how to handle my emotions. I can do the rewiring very fast. I can do creative visualization and, set my brain and
Mhm.
get some space for myself. And so now I know how to do things and how to be this person. If this would not have happened, I would have been just a housewife with maybe six, seven, eight children.
Right, exactly. Well, I've been doing this a long time, nearly 11 years, and for all the people that have gone through some form of abuse, and some of it has been absolutely horrific, they made a choice to go through the process to discover their strength, their courage, their abilities, and who
Yeah,
they really were. And coming out the other end, they are now of service and a beacon of light for others who are going through
yeah,
it. And everyone has said, I wouldn't have changed anything. It doesn't mean I would like to repeat it,
yeah,
but I discovered who I was through this adversity, through this
yeah.
suffering. Suffering, I think, can be a choice. We can suffer at it or we can struggle with it.
Yes.
And I think the struggle gives us strength, suffering keeps us paralyzed.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think for me, the awakening happened with all these angels coming in my life,
Hmm.
because I had the faith in the universe. And I
Yes.
said, universe is kind, and universe is benevolent, and universe is my friend. And through this universe, the peace follows war, and the happiness follows the suffering. So I know that I'm suffering right now, but I cannot change the blueprint that is there for me. So one day the happiness will come. So that faith was there. And once
Yeah.
I accepted that my life is going to be like this for some time, I think the universe started to send me angels,
Mm-hmm.
like the creators in the form of friends and
Yeah.
guide and mentors and collaborators. And these are the angels who started to make me, they would give me a challenge. I mean, becoming strong was something that I had to do.
Yeah.
But to face that challenge, which they had put in front of me, I had to work on myself.
Mm-hmm.
So the first angel, whom I call my angel, is my daughter was already born, and my sons were not yet there. I was just like maybe 23 or 24 at the time. I went to see this therapist, and I was very, very depressed. I met her, and I, cried a whole lot, obviously, when I saw her. And then after that, while I was talking to her, she said, Kanchan, you are such an educated girl, and you are just like a frog in the well. Crawl on that well walls and come out and look at the periphery, sit on the periphery and see there are a whole lot of opportunities there.
Yes.
So that struck me.
Mm.
So the angels, when they come, it's not like they're telling you something new.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard this from so many people, but that timing, that
Yes.
the how this
The
you
right
that
moment, the right information at the right moment. Yeah.
right moment.
Mm-hmm.
And my second angel was the one who actually turned my life totally around. Was that I was standing in a veranda with all my three children, two of my twins, sticking to my chest and both my arms, and they were just like not even 2 years old at the time. And my daughter was clinging to my leg, and we were standing outside in the veranda, and this man had hit me, and he had just run out in his
Mm.
flip flops. So I was standing there very morose, that what is this life? With three children, I cannot do anything.
Right.
And, uh, you know, how to lead even the next day, leave alone the life. But it was
Mm.
like, how will the next day come? But then I felt on my neck that there is somebody behind me,
Mm-hmm.
standing. And I saw across the wall between this house and that house, there was this like 4 feet wall. And I saw this lady, beautiful lady, standing there whom I had never seen before. And she said, "Oh, are you Mr. Bhaskar's daughter?" And I said, "Yeah, I am." Because I was standing in my parents' house. So
Mm.
perhaps she had met my parents. And I said, "Yes." She says, "But you look very sad." And, I again, my whole, I bust out,
Mm-hmm.
tell her that this is what's happened. And she said, "But why don't you work?" And I said, "How can I work? I've got these three children." I was crying.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "How can I work? These three children, what will I do?" She says, "Don't make any excuses with me.
Mm-hmm.
These are all excuses that you are making. Put them in a day boarding school, get a nanny, get a servant to look after them. Be financially independent first, because that will give you the confidence, that will take out of the self pity that you are having right now. And also, it will make you financially independent. Then you can plan your life,
Mm.
the future steps." And that was the day.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that,
And that, mine wanted me to work. Then when I did work, made me feel guilty for working because of the children, because it didn't want me to be independent. It didn't want me to
yeah,
have independent money and all of that. So, it was in and out of things or starting things. And I'm right behind you. I'll support you. And then, no, I'm going to,
yeah,
withdraw my support and all of that. Um,
yeah.
but it is those angels along the
Mm,
past lives. Oh, okay.
yeah. You hanged a little bit.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now.
Okay, right. Sorry,
Yeah.
the wire on my cord there pulled a bit. Um, but it was a woman who used a pendulum to get rid of past lives, and she removed 150 lifetimes, 152 lifetimes from me because I was feeling a brick wall always around me. I couldn't go under it, over it, around it. It was just always there. Didn't matter how much I wanted to smash through it, I couldn't. And by removing those lifetimes, it kind of suddenly gave me this blank slate to be who I am and make that discovery. And that's the woman that he blamed for losing control over, right? But it wasn't although it wasn't an amazing experience, it was more the discovery, and which took time afterwards, bit by bit.
Yeah.
How much am I being influenced by my surroundings and being told what I'm not? How much is me? How much is the culture that I'm in? Or how much is the spirit that I'm in? And it was a reignition of my spirit and of my soul. And then from there, that guided me forward. But we have to allow the process, don't we? Whatever process it is.
Yes.
It's easier for women to leave today because there's more support around with children, and there are more organizations that help. But my children are 80s as well. First one born in 82.
Yeah.
We didn't have podcasts where people shared their information. There really were very few organizations around to support you. Uh, and people would just say, what are you talking about? Stop complaining. Because a narcissist could be very
Yeah.
charming to everyone else.
Right. Yeah, I mean the times were different. Our time, if you're saying 80, my daughter is 81 born, and my twins are 84. So yeah, it's
Right.
the same.
I got 82 and
Uh,
84. Yeah. And
yeah.
88.
And so yeah, those were different timings.
Hmm.
Especially in India, the uh, law did not protect me or my
No.
children. The society shamed me. I was fearful of my husband. So it was like, everything was like coming on to you. It was
Yeah.
like you were alone and lonely
Yes. And the
and,
weight on your shoulders. Yeah.
weak on your shoulders. But then again, like I say, that I always used to say, I am his blessed sheep and he will take care of me. That faith did things to me. The day I turned around from that time when I met this angel, I think I immediately that night I kept awake all night and I built a roadmap for myself. I
Hmm.
strategized, I planned, and I said it will be slow, but I'll
Hmm.
keep steady. And it will take this much time because I'm told that unless the children are 18, they cannot go to court and say that they have to live with their mother only.
Right.
So I said, okay, then, I will rather make my life out of it during this time rather than just being a victim and in self pity.
Right.
So my roadmap, I started to build a ramp, I call it, only because it was just not like a straight ladder, it was
Exactly. Yeah. A
a
gradual. A gradual.
gradual.
Hmm.
Yes. And the first thing I did was to get a job.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got a job, God was kind. I got a great job in a multinational company. And, I didn't have to struggle through so much
Hmm.
for getting a good job. Although initially I did. I mentioned that in my book. And then the second thing I did was to send the children to the boarding schools. I
Hmm.
said, I do not want them to become, sociopaths or
Yeah.
do anything wrong. They are to be brought up the same way that I was brought up. So I sent them to a very good boarding school. And then I bought a house in my own name
Hmm.
because I thought that every time this guy has the courage to just push me out of the house in the middle of the night and with the children.
You've got one of
So,
your own.
and then I said, okay, fine. I will have my own house. Then he cannot push me out.
Exactly.
And that's what I did. But Sarah, he did not change, he did not
No.
improve. The cycle remained the same. And then finally, I thought I have to leave India and run away from here.
Right.
And that's where I decided to come to US.
Now, how difficult was it for you to come to the US with your children, on your own without him? Or, just as, as a divorced woman or a separated woman with kids coming to the States, did it help the fact that you were with an international company?
So there are two things here. One is that he came with me.
Ah.
So, when we decided it was an international company, I talked to the people there, and then it was like a transfer of
Yeah.
on the lead program. It's not only just based on what I asked them, but they could see my talent. I was
Hmm.
working 13 years. They had seen me working. So I came here, and he became like a nice gentleman. When he came to know that I am going now with the three children,
Uh,
he was like, just 6 months before that, he started to be, yes man, yes ma'am, person. And I will change, I will do this.
mm,
And then sometimes we are so foolish. My compassion came out, and I thought, okay,
yeah.
he will
Give
not.
him a chance.
Yeah. So I said that you will not come and live with me there, but I will buy a ticket for you to come and see where your children are going.
Hmm.
And I will also buy a return ticket so that you can come back within that time period. And then you live here. I will not sell the house. You can be in this house and lead your life.
Mm,
Uh, and he was going to become a consultant at the time. So that's what I thought at the time, but
mm,
that never happens. He came with me, which was good in that manner, because with three children, like you said, coming to a total foreign
yeah.
land where I didn't know anybody, where the culture was different, where everything was
Mm,
so, even the work environment was different, and people, their even the very demeanor, like
hmm.
everything. So yeah, and I didn't know how to drive. Can you imagine? Because in India, we have the luxury of hiring chauffeurs and
Yes.
people working for you if you have some money. So that's what I was doing. So he helped in the initial 3 months. As soon as 3 months passed, I told him, now you have a ticket, you have to go back. So he had to go back, and he went back. And within the next 2 months, he came back. One fine day, there's a knock at the door,
Oh
and I
God.
opened the door, and he's standing right there. So he came back. But then, like I said, I fortunately I got a uh, secondment, or I say Pratt and Whitney, which is in Hartford, Connecticut. They took me on loan for some project work. So I lived in there, and my
Hmm.
boys and my him were in a different state at that time. And so that there was a natural separation, and then we filed for divorce. He agreed to it. I told him that it's mutual. You will not have to do anything. I don't want anything from you.
Yeah.
So we did dollar, and he agreed at the time, because he knew that if he does not, then probably he won't get the citizenship of this country, because it was going to be through me.
Right.
So
So he
he agreed.
stayed. He stayed in the US.
Yes, he's somewhere we don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah, he's there,
You
and
were you were a stepping stone to a new life for him.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, lucky
But
man.
one that benefited you because it was a way to say goodbye.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's the only way to say that.
Yeah.
And the day I got this, my children actually were after me at that time. No, mom, you can't put your feet in two shoes, just
Yeah.
to, just,
Hmm.
just be in one boat. And otherwise you lose us also. Because, I mean, how much compassion can you have for this person, mom? Like, just,
Right.
you deserve a better life, they told me. And I agreed with them. And
They're so wise, our children. We keep thinking we're hiding things from them, but
yeah.
they see everything and they're incredibly wise.
Right, right, absolutely. And I started to go to a church here, just looking for again peace and some beliefs that I had, and I said, okay, let me go to start going to the church. And the pastor there, he told me that no, you should divorce him. Don't think twice about him, because he's not your responsibility. You are his responsibility.
Exactly.
So yeah, the divorce happened, and I jumped high, touching the sky that day, and called all my friends and whosoever I knew that I am a free bird today. I can fly in the sky. And I thought now I can live my life on my own terms. And I did this certification in, became an advocate for the women of domestic violence, and
Mm,
started counseling and coaching. And so that's my purpose in life now. I'm
yeah.
working towards my purpose.
And that, it took you a while to get there because the culture was against you, your human rights were against you. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, you didn't waste time because you were building a life that when
Yes.
you could transition to. And the thing is, the stronger you became and more independent you became in your life, the
Yeah.
less control he had over you.
Yeah.
And eventually it's like, oh, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah. I've
And off
lost
they
my
go.
control on her, just like
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, as you said, they don't really change. They might soften, or like occasionally you get a statement, of sorry, but it's the one thing you won't get is a narcissist will not go and get help for who they are because
Yeah.
they do not believe that there's anything wrong with them. It's everybody else around them. Where a lot of other people, even alcoholics or this or that, it will be, okay, I've reached that pitch where I need to go and do something. I need to get help. And there
Yeah.
is redeemable from there. There is that chance of them, of going through their own process and becoming again. But it's very hard with a narcissist because, you know,
Yeah.
it's not them, it's always everybody else.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But the story here is you may have young children, you may not have the support to be able to leave. Here in North America, we're meant to have more rights of as women. It all
Yeah.
depends on the gift of the gab and the power of the man, how rich and who's he got around him, right?
Right.
But
Right.
there is a great deal of empowerment you can do for yourself along the
Yeah.
way. And
Oh yeah.
that's the thing is bide your time, strengthen yourself,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, if you are physically I mean, there's one woman I have on here, Victoria Corey, she's under my supporting the supporters. She was beaten up 300 times while pregnant by her husband. He
Oh
was
God.
in the military. The police had enough on him, but
Mm.
the military pulled rank and saved him. He got retired with a retirement thing. She got zero, and
Oh.
she's had a hand cut off now. She's skew. She has mechanics in her body. She has and her child was born with problems because of the beatings. But she started a program called Courageous Smile, where she's there to help other domestic violence. She remarried, and her husband has started, raising dogs for comfort dogs. And she is an incredible woman, incredible
Wow.
woman. And she said, the day I became free of him, he was no longer in my life. He wasn't in my daughter's life. He'd already
Right.
done the damage, and I wasn't going to let him do any more. It was now
Yeah.
my choice with what I did with my life. And that's something, as you said, there's the scars, there's still the pain sometimes, the
Yeah.
the mourning of the years that you've lost
Yeah.
or the condition that they've left you in. But it's still up to us what we do with it and what we do with our life.
Right. I agree totally with you. And not only the beliefs that I had, the three beliefs that have helped me with my escape and making me become stronger, my belief in self, which I had to develop and
Yeah.
work on a lot, and then belief in universe and belief in spirituality were the three beliefs that helped me. But rewiring helped me a lot.
Yes.
You, I would just, I overwrote everything that was there in my head with
Hmm.
new life, new words, new sentences, new
Right.
chapters,
New programming. Totally
new
deleted
program.
the old programming and rewrote what was positive for you.
It took a lot of
Yeah.
time though.
Yeah.
I started to chant, I started to meditate, all of that happened. And then I started to also do some creative visualization by,
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, things happen, things if you are wanting to help yourself, you will be helped.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yes. Yes. But it starts
You,
off with you wanting to help yourself. There's plenty of people around you, but
yeah,
you've got to ask for that help because you want to help yourself.
yeah, exactly. I mean, the two things that I always say is, one is that you speak up, that you are going through this life, rather than just being
Mhm.
quiet about it and not telling anybody. There is no shame about it. Don't be fearful of anybody. Born right and living free is your right.
Yes.
So yeah, do that. And then the other thing is that commit to yourself, commit to being free. It's not that there's no going back. There should
No.
not. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a
So
saying, you can't put the baby back in the womb.
yeah,
You can't to go back. If you go back, that's your choice. right?
Yeah.
It wasn't, and that's what you've chosen. And we do see people rush into other relationships, and all it is the same pattern in a different package. All
Yeah.
right. But we have to
Yeah.
be willing to work on ourselves and find that inner love,
Yeah.
find that self-value, step into the enrichment and the abundance of who we are. And then
Right.
in that vibration and in that frequency, we will attract like frequent people around us. So if you're still in an abusive mindset, then you will attract the
Yeah.
abuse.
Yeah. So true. So true. I've really felt that, and I have gone through that,
Mm.
what you're saying, that if we are positive, we'll attract positivity around us, we'll have positive people around us, we'll
Yes.
stay happy.
Yeah.
Um,
What you
and
seed, what you water will grow. Be careful you're not planting weeds.
yeah,
Yeah. So the book is your memoir. It is your journey.
yes, it is
And
my job.
living. I don't know about you. I've written mine. I'm in the still in the editing stage because I haven't got much time to do it. But yours
Uh-huh.
is Leaving and How I Set Myself Free from an Abusive Marriage. And it's I don't know about you, but it was very therapeutic. Uh,
Mm,
but it also revealed things like when I looked at mine and I saw a thread running through, and it was like, oh, that's interesting because sometimes we look at our lives in bits, but when
mm-hmm.
you're doing a memoir, you're seeing it as a whole, right? And then you start seeing those threads. Was there any thread running through your book that was a realization for you?
I would say the thread was my values that I imbibed during my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
The thread that was running all through, the values that I had gotten of a woman to be respected, or a life of warmth and love and partnership and trust.
Mm-hmm.
That was thread which I know that in between it of course got totally broken,
Yeah.
and I could not even fix it. I could not put a knot on that thread, but then eventually I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and I just wanted those values back, and that is how I work towards those values only.
Yeah.
That you are a free person, you have to be a free person and have respect for yourself. And where is your identity gone? Where is your
Mm,
dignity gone? So you have to get that back. Unless you get that back, your own children will not respect you.
exactly.
So,
I think true freedom is actually self-love.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
It's being able to stand tall in who you are and why you are and what you stand for and what you're doing. And you're coming from a place of love. You are the love because you have that love for who you are. And
Yeah.
but that is something that we learn through the experience of life, through the journey of life. And if somebody comes across it young, it's wonderful. Because they're avoiding all the Grand Canyons and the potholes along the way. But for most of us, especially kind of an older generation where our value was based on what we could do for others
Mm.
only, not who we were as a person.
Yeah,
It's a little longer journey, but I think it's when we get there and we actually understand that we are the love we seek, we are the peace we seek, we are the solution we seek. And when we step into that love compass, that love generator will always show us the way.
absolutely.
But we
You're
got to
so right.
get there, right? And
Yes.
that means we have to take off the eyeballs that are on us from somebody who is in pain, for somebody who feels less than, for somebody
Right.
who feels small. Their only way of feeling bigger is to put you down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we stop seeing ourselves through their eyes and start seeing ourselves from, but every time you put me down, I get back up.
Yes, I agree totally. Yes, yes. And that keeps giving you more and more strength.
Yeah.
And then also sometimes, like I have felt that I have started to get away from negativity rather than confronting
Yes.
or judging or telling them that you should not be doing this to me, or I just now I say I don't have time, I don't have
Yes.
energy, I've
Yes.
got many years left for myself.
Yes.
I will devote it totally. I may be selfish, let it be.
Right.
I've been here all my life, but then what did I get in return? So
You,
it's like,
you've paid your dues in misery. All
yeah,
you want now is joy, right? Yeah. You
right.
don't have to keep
So,
living in the misery. You acknowledge it's out there and you're working with
yeah,
people in domestic abuse, so you know it's there, but
yeah,
you've chosen to feed the waters of solution and love
right.
and compassion rather than looking at the contaminated waters.
Yes, so rightly put. Very nice analogy. Yes, you're right.
What we feed is what will grow. And I think, one of the biggest things is giving ourselves permission to be that loved, a permission that we are worth it, permission that we're here for a reason, a permission to stand tall in our own lives, and
Yeah,
and not to compare ourselves or compete with anyone, and not to look at ourselves through the eyes of dysfunction.
yeah, right, right. I mean, it has been so nice talking to you. I feel that it is so enlightening session for me. I
Wonderful.
am learning so much from you. It's a very,
Well, we've
very
had
nice.
similar journeys, but slightly different. But I know what you've battled with. I know that
Yeah,
struggle, and I know what it takes out of you. But I also know what we've gained that we wouldn't have gained had we not gone through it. So,
yes,
it's who we are today. We can stand so tall in who we are
yeah,
because we understand the struggle to get here.
yeah, we
But
do.
we also understand the value of life, the value of joy, of meaningful purpose, but also the value of our contribution in it all.
Yeah, true. And it has left us humble, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we are grounded, we are humble, we understand other human beings, we have become more compassionate, we want to give back to the society,
Yes.
we want to live with the purpose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much that we got.
Hmm.
Yeah, it
When
is.
people relate to our story because it's a story that's being told in their own lives, that relatability opens the door. And in compassion and understanding, we can help people heal. Just
Yes.
simply, the verbal or the physical arms around someone, just saying, I've got you. I've
Oh,
got you.
oh my God. That is priceless
Yeah.
for victims, you know, that is something that they would want to have. And just one hug, that's
Yeah.
all. That's all it takes, you know. You
Yeah.
don't even hold their hand, just one hug, and
Yes.
that's it. Just to
Yeah.
tell them I'm there for you. You know, that's
Well,
all you are.
that's one of the biggest things about abuse, isn't it? Is because you feel so alone. You feel so
Yes,
trapped. In my case, because it wasn't physical and there were no bruises, and
yeah.
he was so charming,
Hmm.
nobody ever believed them. Even if I told them what I was going through, they didn't believe it. They thought
Yeah.
we were the perfect couple. They couldn't
Yeah.
understand why we were divorcing. But
Right.
there were a couple of people he didn't like of my friends, and
Hmm.
he showed that side to them.
Yeah.
And they were gobsmacked, at what he did. And
Yeah.
like, I understand, but he didn't care about them. But people he did care about, everything was hunky dory. So, how do you get people to actually understand what you're going through when they're painting a different picture?
Yeah. And my husband was like that too. My ex, I mean, people outside, even if I would tell somebody, they would say, we don't believe it.
Yeah,
Because he was very charming. He
yeah,
was educated,
exactly. Yeah.
charming. So,
Narcissists are. That's how they manage to be so manipulating because they can be charming. And
yeah,
then there's the other side of them. Definitely. You're not just a survivor, you're a thriver. And now you're a give backer. You're sharing your strength. You're sharing your abilities. You're sharing those skills and tools for others that are going through it. And it is sad in 2023 that we're still talking so much about abuse, that the statistics are so high.
yeah,
And when we look at the world, where we're looking at Iraq and we're looking at Iran, we're even looking at Pakistan, we're looking at various other places in the world where the men have gone even more backwards because they're so afraid of women's liberation that they've gone even more backwards with what the suppression of women. But as I
yeah,
said, you can't put the baby back in the womb. We're out of the womb now. We're growing, and it doesn't matter what abuse you throw at us. We're going to
right.
stand tall because we're no longer alone. We're in a sisterhood, and we're going to stand together and support each other.
Absolutely. You have said it so rightly. Yes, we are together, we are in a sisterhood. And if these men want to join us, they better
Yes.
change their belief system.
Yeah.
They have to change their men role belief system, where they think they have the power and they have the control, and there's women are there to serve us.
Yeah.
Once change that system, we will bring them in. Till
And
then,
there are so many men that are really are true men because they revere a woman's strength. They
yes,
love a woman of strength. They love and appreciate a woman. And those are really the real men because they never feel less than because a woman is strong.
yeah, because they're
Right?
secure within themselves.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, how do people get hold of the book and how did they get hold of you and what are you offering people?
Okay. So they can see me or find me on my website, which is kanchanbhaskar.com.
Can you spell that out for people who are listening, please, love?
Yeah, it starts with K for King, Anchanbhaskar .com. So it's my full name, kanchanbhaskar.com. And you will find their pre-order windows are there. The
Mm-hmm.
book is already available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and few other stores.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out on April 11th. I have, formed a letter which I'm sending to the mailing list that I have with me. But if you people go on my website and they subscribe to the newsletter, that way I'll have their email, and I will be sending a newsletter every month. And what else was there?
You have the
Oh,
counseling and coaching individuals where you do
yeah,
by Zoom sessions, your speaking engagements that you do. So you're there for people. You work with advocates on what's for domestic abuse. So you're doing a lot out there. And you're
yes.
based in Chicago, but you can talk to anyone anywhere by Zoom, right?
Oh, absolutely. So I have my email address there. Please write to me. It could be anybody who's trapped right
Yeah.
now. They want to get out, but they do not know. Somebody is already out, but they do not know what freedom looks like and how to survive in this
Mm,
world. And also, I'm working with people who are either going through divorce or already divorced, and they are going through adversity. And it is the same principles that work in for those people too. So just to become stronger and be able to face this world, I think those are the skill sets that I try to coach and help people with. That's it.
And there's, especially people who are coming from the culture where the man has been chosen for them, or that submissive women culture right from the word go, because you understand what they're up against and that it's a reprogramming of their mind to
Yes.
let go of that and to empower themselves. And it's different from somebody maybe in the Western culture that's already empowered, but just reliving an old pattern, from
Right.
someone that's been brought up with submissiveness.
Right. Absolutely. I think, yeah.
Well, I love the work that you're doing. Again, you're going to be on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, thebookshop.org. You're on Facebook of
Yes.
Kashan, Mbhaskar. You're an author, Kashan B, in Twitter and on LinkedIn, Kanchan Bhaskar. And so people can reach out to you there as well, and they can pre-order the book. And of course, they can go to your site, which I'm going to reiterate again. KANCHANBHASKAR.com. And if you know somebody going through this, or if somebody you're feeling trapped right now, you don't want to be one of those statistics anymore, that you want to stand tall in your own life, in your own choices, in your own journey of life. You're tired of someone dictating it for you or keeping you down, or controlling your life, then this is whom you need to help you on your way. So, this I would say the best teachers, the best coaches are the ones that have gone through it, because you relate, you have empathy, you have compassion, you have understanding, but
Right.
also you are the strength that people are striving for, so that they can be liberated from their own imprisonment as well.
Sure. Absolutely. That's why I say, if I could do it, others can too. And who
Yes.
can be better to tell how I did it?
Yes. And
Oh,
we learn the tools, the skills, the encouragement, and knowing somebody else has gone through it and this is where they are now. It is that beacon of hope for us to strive for. And that, I look back now, it's what, 23 years. And I look back and it's like, thank God I did it. Thank God I did. I don't think I'd be alive if I was still there. Um, and the journey to become who I am now has been my own journey of my
yeah.
own choice and making. And whether I like it or not, I love who I am
Yeah.
now because I've been willing to take the journey and do the work. Right. And
Yeah.
we've got to be willing to do the work. And then we will get there and then we'll be able to stand tall and say, I love who I am and what I stand for. And that's
Yeah.
really where we want to be.
Right, right. I totally agree with you. We feel empowered, we feel strong. I am thrilled. I love my life. I
Yeah.
want to live every moment of it and just enjoy the rest of it and give back to society.
Yes. Help people who are struggling along the way. It's very gratifying to help somebody um, get free of that in,
Yes.
in any way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yesterday was International Women's Day because we do these shows a week before, and I wrote a whole piece on it, and it is every day is Women's Day because we're actually in the era of women, and we're in the era of love, nurture, strength, abilities,
Yeah.
creativity, and yes, there are many of the men out there who are feeling threatened because they know a woman is more than capable, and unfortunately, their protesting is soundless because the chorus is already out there, the current is
Yeah.
already out there, and it doesn't matter what they try to do, we will triumph. We
Yeah.
will.
We will because we gave them enough time, years and years,
Yes. Yeah,
long road
exactly.
with them.
If you can't get it
So,
right by now, you never will, right?
yeah.
So you need women to show you the way, and it's not men bashing. It's an invitation to men
Yeah.
to be as awesome as they can be as well.
Yes.
And understanding that by embracing the woman and all her strength
Yeah.
strengthens them,
Right.
right? As we look to them for our strength, and that it is a beautiful partnership that we can have on any level. It's their insecurity, their idiosyncrasies, their smallness,
Mm-hmm.
where they feel they have to bring us down to build themselves up, is what we're not tolerating anymore.
Yes. And it doesn't work like that.
No. And it doesn't achieve anything. No
And
creativity, no solution comes out of that, just more repression and
yeah.
pain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no more pain, no more drama. It's only about light, love, and the future. And we can all get through this because we're not alone.
Yep.
And we are meant to stand tall in our own life and be as awesome as we're meant to be. And no one else can tell us anything else otherwise.
Woohoo.
Thank you so much for sharing, Han. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Sarah. I am so blessed to be at your channel and talking to you today because I think I learned so much more from you talking about it than me sharing about it. So
Oh, both
the,
two-way
the,
street, two-way street, right? Two-way street. Yeah.
yeah, it goes on. The
Yes,
learning goes on forever, and
it does. And, yes, we bear the scars and yes, we have some regrets, but at the same time, it's where we are now, who we
yeah,
are now, what we're doing now. And that's
yeah,
where the focus needs to be, right? The
right,
now. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, folks, until next time, we wish you enrichment and abundance of your heart, soul, and your spirit. And wherever you are, if you're in any form of abuse right now, you don't have to stay there. There are people and groups and associations that are around to help you, like Kashan. And the journey doesn't have to be as long in the pain as it was with us, because there is so much more out there support. But don't sell yourself short. Don't don't let them keep you down. Stand tall, however much they do, and find that courage to leave. And yes, safety comes first. So make sure you do have the support around you for you and your children while you do that leaving, because it's not always received well. But at the same time, with the right support around you, you're not alone on that exit journey. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Find all of our shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com under podcasts or selfdiscoverymedia/shows. And for all our current shows, go to What's New. We are supported by you, the audience. You'll see a nice big shiny blue button for one-time donations, or follow us on Patreon and you will be able to support us there. We enjoy bringing you such wisdom. And the next show will be up in just a moment.